So, good morning, everyone. Borada, and a heartfelt welcome to our webinar this morning, Helping Councils Make an Impact This Christmas, which is practical actions for small councils. So thank you all for making the time to join us today. It's an important step in ensuring our communities truly look at everyone this winter. So I'm Angela Oakes, I'm your host today. I'm part of the Cost of Living Crisis project team, and I'm joined by my colleagues today, Emma Good and Vanessa Owens, who will be managing the chat and assisting me today. So we all know that small councils across Wales are facing enormous pressures, tight budgets, limited staff and volunteers, with limited staff and volunteers and increasing local demand. And at the same time, we also recognise that councils like yours are uniquely placed to make a difference in your communities. Often it's the simplest actions that bring about the greatest impact. So this webinar today is designed to support you in building on that strength, sharing practical approaches and resources that can help councils make the most of what they already have. So today we're going to focus on a group too often left out, those who can't make it out to a venue due to maybe illness, lack of transport, low confidence or frailty can make people housebound. Yet these are often the very residents who need our help the most. To underline why reaching in rather than expecting them to come out is such a pressing priority, here's just a few statistics. A staggering 9,000 older people die each winter in the UK because of cold homes, many of which could be prevented with warmth and support. And during one winter alone, there were 13,400 more deaths than average, and many of those were linked to cold, poorly heated homes. An average 45 lives lost every day, a staggering amount, as I'm sure you all recognise. So these aren't just statistics, they're our neighbours, family members and community members who are hidden behind closed doors and struggling in silence. So throughout today's session, you'll hear real life success stories from warm herbs to coat swaps and neighbourhood buddy schemes. We'll also break into smaller groups so you can share what's working in your councils, hopefully brainstorm together and ask questions of one another, which obviously is the best way of learning and sharing, finding out what others are doing and trying to replicate those ideas within your own council as well. So we have we're really pleased to be joined by Eryl O'Neill from Hirwaun Penderyn Community Council, and their Warm Hub runs a soup social in winter along seasonal projects such as recipe packs for families, warm packs with practical essentials, and they even have a fish and chips event with live music. We also have Clare Hope from Llanon Community Council, who again will share what they do to support the vulnerable residents in their communities. So what we intend to do during this webinar today is break out into smaller groups where we can discuss some of the initiatives that are already taking place within your councils. We've prepared Vanessa has prepared a little toolkit, all of which you'll receive a copy of at the end of this session. But there's lots of ideas and tips that we can be discussing today as to how you could maybe go about utilising some of those ideas within your council as well. So I'll be sharing that in just a second. But before we do so, Erin, can I just hand over to you just for a second, just to give us a little bit of an overview of what it is that your council are doing at the moment to support those residents in your community who are particularly vulnerable at this time of year?
We try and think outside the box. So we have been, for the last few years, we've been having money and we buy vegetable packs. And it's unfortunate, it's a first come, first served basis, and we put vegetables together, say to make a stew. Now this year they made it more difficult. They said that's not enough. So we had an idea that we would get a recipe card. So every week we've given them the ingredients to make a simple meal. So I think it's pasta cheese bake this week, for example. They may have to add some ingredients, say the cheese, but we'll give them a cheese sauce in a pack, that kind of thing. So that's gone down quite well. But what we really like is we do these soup socials where we put on cup of tea, bowl of soup, bread roll, and it's not just about sitting down and having something warm to eat, but it's about the camaraderie, the people who don't see many others. They come and they enjoy a chat and the company, and of course it's warm as well. And there are some people who are maybe quite lonely. If they don't turn up, we think, is there something wrong? So we end up knocking on their doors or trying to chase them up to see if they're okay, because we've had a few problems where somebody hasn't been well and they haven't been able to get hold of somebody. So it's it feels more than just having a cup of tea or a bowl of soup. There's more to it than that. The community buffet with entertainer, we again, it's all funded by grants, and it's usually, say, St. David's Day, and we have a singer in, and we have about 40 people. The local fish and chips shop come and deliver 40 fish and chips, and we give them a cup of tea, and we get cake as well. We get Welsh cakes from the market, and somebody comes and sings, and it's a really nice daytime afternoon out for some of these people who don't go very far. And we've also had warm pack supplies, so things like hot water bottles, draft excluders, throws, gloves, hats, scarves, that kind of thing. And again, it's a first come, first served thing. So we hope we get to the right people, but it's difficult to work it out any other way. And a lot of friendships have been struck up. Some people have come from, they've moved into the area, they haven't got any friends, they've made some friends, and you see them, they spend more than that time together. Perhaps they go to the church service together. So it's brought people in, gives them something to look forward to in the week. I don't know if there's anything else that you want me to say.
No, that's absolutely brilliant, Eryl. I mean, there's so much your council is already doing out there to support residents, which is amazing. And it's always really welcoming to hear about such activities as well. So it was just really to give an overview of what your council does currently, just to give a discussion point really for when we go into breakout groups. So when you go into breakout groups, if you do have any questions that you want to ask Eryl specifically, then please do. I'm sure, Eryl, that would be absolutely fine to do so. Just to understand how those schemes have been set up and how they're operated, how they're funded, etc. So obviously we'll continue that discussion in the breakout group. So Claire, again, similarly, I know you're quite active there at Llanon Community Council. So again, do you want to just give us a short overview of some of the activities taking place within your council as well, please?
In Llanon Community Council, sort of the last 2 or 3 years, really, we've been quite active in terms of supporting our residents through the cost of living crisis. Back in 2022, we opened up it's a combined warm space and a community supermarket. So people can come and shop 3 times a week, and during those periods we also open it up as a warm space. We've grown our volunteering hub from that. It all started quite small and became quite big rather quickly. But off the back of it, the Warm Hub does a lot of what you've already talked about already, you know, the free tea and coffee, the bowl of soup. Something that we do is I applied for a grant a few years ago to purchase slow cookers to give to families in the ward. So every week now we put together a free slow cooker pack, and we're able to do that because a local business that pre-packs meats for shops like Marks and Spencer's and Sainsbury's, they're based in Crosshands, and they give us about £1,000 worth of meat every month that we can distribute through our food bank and through our Warm Hub. So we're able to actually put those slow cooker packs together. We also provide warm packs. We've got an energy advice clinic that we specifically target to come in during those winter months to try and give people advice on how they can help to cut their bills. And sometimes it can be as simple as just keeping the curtains closed in the house, that sort of thing. But it's surprising the difference that can make to people that are really struggling. And I think for us, it's been a case of we've got a lot of working families that use this service, and it's trying to prevent them getting into that state of absolute poverty. So if we can help them by, you know, giving them a bowl of soup and a cup of tea and a chat at lunchtime, and then helping them with all these other services, then hopefully then you know, they will be able to pay that electricity bill or gas bill, whatever it needs to be. We work very closely with Carmarthenshire County Council on their Claim What's Yours campaign. So they are based in our cwtch is what we call it. They're based there once a week. So residents can access benefits advice, housing advice, and that works really well because, I mean, last week alone, I think they had 30 referrals, and from that, they were able to help 30 different families in issues that they were facing. So I think, you know, one of my biggest tips is work really closely with your local authority and try and get them in helping you with things like that. Again, we've got the board games, the magazines, but what we've also got is a community book swap and DVD swap, because if you can imagine, a lot of the people that use this are elderly. They still use DVD players. You know, they're not on Netflix. They're not doing the things that the younger generations are doing. So so yeah, that book swap and DVD swap are very, very well used. I am trying to encourage them not to swap anymore and just to take, because it seems to be getting bigger and bigger and I'm running out of storage space. But you know, it's there for everyone to use. We've, like I say, initially our volunteering support, it's difficult managing volunteers because you can end up, you either get too many and then there's not enough for them to do and people get bored and disinterested, or you can end up being a bit of a victim of your own success where your project is so big you haven't got the support. So I think one of the things that we do is we always try and start slow, start small, and then build it up as it goes along. And I think, you know, moving on from this, I attended a webinar probably the beginning of 23 that One Voice Wales had arranged, and it was all around community surveys and engaging with your community. And from that, then I actually did a whole community survey in October 23, survey to every single household in the ward. And off the back of that survey, even though we knew there was loneliness, we knew that there were some people that were isolated, we didn't actually realise until that survey came back in how big that issue was. And what was interesting as well was that it was from over 50s upwards, people were ticking the box. So previously, you know, I wrongly had the misconception it was probably a more elderly age group, but actually those people in that age group that for whatever reason perhaps haven't found work after having children, or are just working part-time are actually feeling a huge sense of loneliness. So, excuse me, we started then off the back of it, a weekly luncheon club in April of 24, which was, we were having around about 25, 30 people come into that every week. 2-course meal, some entertainment, bingo every week. Whatever you do, include bingo because people love it. I had no idea how popular bingo was. And we just do prize bingo. You know, it's not for cash, but they get a little box of chocolates, or sometimes we get flowers through our food bank. They get donated from Neighbourly and things like that. So we use the flowers then as a prize. It's so popular. And then by September, October last year, we were up to regularly 70 to 80 people attending every week. I started off doing the cooking. I'm a bit of a home cook that cooks too much for my family. But when it got to the point of 70 to 80 people, I thought I definitely need some help because I'm not a caterer. So, you know, it's grown really, it's grown steadily, but at a pace that we can manage. And with that, even though you know, you've always got two elements to your ward. You've got the poverty aspect of trying to manage people that genuinely can't afford and are really struggling. But what we found with a lot of our isolated elderly members is that actually they have got money, but they just didn't have a way of accessing services. They didn't have groups that they could go to. So through this, they are more than happy to pay to come every week. And what we do is our residents pay £6.50, and anybody that comes from outside our ward pays £8.50. They don't even quibble it. They are more than happy to pay. And that pays for the majority of it. And then we do what we call our specials. So we have a Christmas special where we get a really top class act in. Last year we had a West End singer in, and I just spoke to some of the local businesses and they all paid for that singer to come in. So they had a really special day. And we did a 2-course Christmas carvery. The company that supplied the meat, they gave me the meat then for the carvery. So it's all about as well kind of trying to mix your projects up and seeing how they can work off the back of each other as well. You know, we have situations where with Neighbourly and Fair Share, the food that we get from there, obviously the aim is that this food doesn't go into landfill. So if we haven't been able to distribute it for whatever reason that week, because sometimes, you know, we'll get 6 trays of peppers. Well, they're quite difficult to freeze, but then I'll make, you know, a red pepper and tomato soup or something like that. And that's what we then distribute on the Fridays through this project. So it's been very much about all of the different projects supporting one another. And then off the back of all of this, the other thing that we kind of identified was that a lot of people, they want to go on holiday, they want to go on trips, but again, perhaps haven't got the confidence to just book a coach trip and go, you know, 2 friends on their own in case something happens. How would they manage that? So we started off doing some day trips. My cost of living team aren't here today because they're actually on a trip with everybody in Saundersfoot. 100 people have gone to Saundersfoot today. But what we've now done is in January, we're actually, we've arranged a trip to Torquay. So we're going for the whole weekend. I think there's 78 of us going. And it's something that they are desperately looking forward to. You know, it breaks up January for people. So as you can see, it's grown. And off the back of it now, I've got a volunteering hub, and my wellbeing officer, part of her responsibility is completely running that volunteer hub and the people that kindly give up their time. So, you know, there's a lot going on, but, you know, my biggest tip really is start slow and build it up, and then everything else kind of comes with it. So, but I think that's it, Angela, and obviously I'll answer any questions in the breakout room then.
That's fantastic, Claire. Gosh, you do an awful lot there, don't you? You must be extremely busy. Before we go into the breakout room, actually, Claire, there was so much information from your very short presentation there. I was just wondering if you were happy for us to just open the floor, just in case that anyone wanted to ask anything directly, only because some of the people who've joined us today may not be in your breakout group. So I just thought it'd be a great opportunity for everyone to have the opportunity just to pop a question to you. So if you have got a question for Claire, if you want to either raise your hand and we'll come to you, or if you want to pop something in the chat, and then we can ask the question on your behalf instead of Claire. So I'll just give you a moment there. Anyone? Eryl, do you want to unmute yourself there?
Yeah.
There we go.
So Claire, how do you get the time to do all this? Is it, are you, like fully, do you work kind of full time on this, or do you get any funding for it? For
Yeah.
yourself?
Well, I'm the Chief Officer of Llanon. I mean, we are a big council. We're up to sort of £600,000 precept now. It's a big area, a big electorate that we've got. But initially, a lot of it was trying to explain to my councillors as well how important our duties are in terms of delivering wellbeing objectives. And I think that once I got over that hurdle, because they didn't have a very good understanding of the fact that this is statutory, it's something that we have to do. And when you're reporting it, you really have to think about all of this up front. And my council over the last 4 years have done a complete U-turn on what they thought were just kind of vanity projects. They now understand how important this is to delivering the wellbeing goals of Wales and our local PSB objectives. So most of the projects I kind of started myself, and then once we could prove the model, I suppose, that's when then it was quite easy for me to take to the council and say, right, okay, we've got to this point with this. I now need someone to run this project because I can't do everything else I do, keep all the balls moving with the council and run these projects. And I'm very lucky that I've had, so much support from my council. And off the back of it now, we're actually working on a project to purchase a building that will be solely for all of our wellbeing projects. But so in 4 years we've come from a point of literally doing nothing to all of this, but through applying for grants, particularly grants that are advertised by the local authority on behalf of Welsh Gov. So poverty funds, fuel poverty funds. We're then able to keep the kind of the supermarket and the warm space going. And then, like I say, working closely with the local businesses and getting their help to do some extras. And then with the luncheon club, like I say, the members of that actually pay in towards it. So, but most of what I do now is trying to bring the money in, and then I've got other people running the projects. But every Friday can be I wake up in the morning and think, oh, okay, I'm just going to be helping to hand deliver food today, and actually I could end up calling bingo, or I could be driving a minibus, but I don't work on a Friday, so I do that as a volunteer. So it's trying to get the staff engaged, and everybody that works for me is so involved, and they're so invested in these projects, and I think finding those people that work like this is so important. So yeah, hopefully that answers you, Eryl. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much for that, Claire. To do is share the screen just for a moment, and if I can just go through the toolkit that Vanessa has produced. As we mentioned earlier, everyone will go away with a copy of this, and there's some really really quick ideas in there, low cost, that we can start thinking about and maybe start implementing now in preparation for winter and Christmas. So if you could just bear with me a second, let me just share my screen. Okay, can everyone see that? Yeah, great stuff. Okay, so this is something that Vanessa's been working on, and we just thought it was a really easy way to just collate lots of really quick, easy to implement ideas into a couple of pages, and that's something you can easily share with the rest of your council members, and maybe start a discussion as to some of the things you could maybe start working through. So one of the things included in there is a warm welcome space, which I know a lot of councils have already set up and implemented within their councils. And we've seen lots of examples where councils have used existing spaces, council offices, churches, village halls, libraries, etc. Fairly low cost, easy to implement, and usually generate good turnout. The more successful ones offer free teas, coffees, they bring along board games, magazines, and we always find that where there's some sort of a Wi-Fi connection as well, that brings about better numbers as well. So that's maybe something to consider. And we find that a lot of these hubs are manned quite successfully, just with usually volunteers. Local councillors are usually quite happy to step in, or even members from the community. The easiest way, obviously, is to advertise them through printed posters, social media, word of mouth. And it's always a good idea to start advertising those events sort of towards the end of the summer, really beginning of September. Some of them don't run until much later in the year, but the sooner you can start advertising those projects, the better attended they will be. And a bonus tip there is ask your local cafes, supermarkets, if they can offer any supplies to help with any of the teas, coffees, sandwiches, etc. for those hubs. So that's quite an easy one that we see quite a lot of councils already implementing. And then something to keep an eye out for, there should be some funding available, again, as there was last winter. So check out your local CVC just to see if the applications are out yet, whether they're ready for you to submit in preparation for you setting up your hub. Obviously, we'll keep our eye on any announcements as well from Welsh Government, and we'll be advertising those through our Facebook page, or any of our newsletters, etc. So definitely look out for any funding for those as well. So one of the other initiatives we've seen pop up is the coat and blanket swap. Again, fairly easy to generate. Set up a rail table in a public space. Again, it can be a hall, a school. We've even heard of instances where they've been set up in bus stops, and invite residents to take what they need and leave what they can. And we find that, most people have a coat at home, kids have outgrown, and they're quite happy to donate those. And of course, they would be, of use for someone else. And the same with gloves, scarves, blankets. So again, in terms of advertising, local notice boards, newsletters, online groups, all great ways to promote those. Okay. Add a hot water bottle drop box. So again, if you have a spare hot water bottle that you're not in need of anymore, especially this time of year, always welcome. They're only a few pounds, but a few pounds for someone who hasn't got a lot of money, I'm sure they'd make a welcome donation as well. So again, just check that they're within their usage date. They do have a shelf life, hot water bottles, so that's just something to look out for. What else have we got? Distribute a winter support leaflet. Create a simple one-page flyer, which includes your local food banks, support charities, Something that maps out where all your warm spaces are, so people don't have to go hunting around for them, always useful. Where they can contact the citizens' advice, any mental health or crisis support lines. And again, you know, this is something you can easily print out in-house, or ask a local library or a school if they'd be prepared to do that for you. And maybe, you know, again, recruit volunteers within your neighbourhood who may be able to distribute those door to door or share digitally online. And again, if you know, you can include a QR tip on that leaflet, it makes access even quicker for people, for those who are digitally savvy. So again, also worth including on that emergency list is emergency numbers for power or water cuts. Many of us saw those occur last winter included. I lost water and power. So something like that would have been really useful for me. And then moving on really to those who are, you know, stuck at home, who aren't able to get out and about. So a good idea to identify residents within your community who may need that additional support, who can't come out to those activities that are happening in your neighbourhood. So, you know, try to identify who those residents are, you know, putting in a friendly phone call, help with errands, dog walking, snow clearing, lift appointments maybe. And, you know, try to see if you can match any local volunteers with those individuals who are in need in your community. A buddy system always works well. Maybe set up some sort of a WhatsApp group where those vulnerable people can maybe even chat to each other or reach out if they are in need. And it's always worth linking with the local police, local churches, GP surgeries to maybe help you identify who those vulnerable people might be. And then again, it might be an idea to, you know, ask the community for a festive favour, to ask, you know, each household to reach out to one household neighbour. We've seen examples of that work extremely well again within some councils. So again, it just breaks down the workload if, you know, we can share that help. And again, maybe work with local schools, send a winter wellbeing card to an isolated residence, and then maybe include that your mini emergency contact form. Again, it would really make someone's day, and it's again another useful way, a really easy way of getting that information out to them. And then just again, coordinating surplus food collections, contacting local supermarket shops to see what food is available, connecting again with your local volunteers, local food bank networks to pick up that food, distribute it, whether that's door to door or whether that's through one of your warm hubs or food banks. And again, providing that information as to where that food might be available. So there's a few other ideas on there. Bring and share biscuits appeal. Again, great if you're hosting a warm hub, or maybe, you know, if there is a spare biscuit tin, that would, I'm sure, make someone's day, dropping that off at their house as a little festive gift for them as well. So a few more quick ideas. Host a community Christmas cuppa, 1 hour social in a hall. Organise a gift regarding a table for gently used toys or books. Assemble winter wellbeing packs of maybe tea bags, gloves, information flyer. Add a toiletries basket, soap, shampoo, toothpaste for those in need. Coordinate how you can maybe drop those door to door for those who can't. And coordinate carols and cake, a small local choir or a playlist and tea. So when we go into the breakout groups, we can look at how you could maybe start looking at perhaps just one of those projects. A lot of information there, but if you start thinking about one of those projects you could be trialling in October, identifying maybe who you could work with within your community, whether that's organisations or voluntary groups, how you would advertise that initiative, how you get the word out, and maybe how you would reach out to those who aren't on social media. How would you get the word out to them that there's support out there for them as well? So we're going to break into a couple of little breakout groups. Is everyone happy with that? And then if we can just formulate some discussions around those ideas, and then if we can bring those ideas back to the table, share those, and then we can hopefully make some notes and collect some information. So great. I think we could have gone on for much longer than the 20 minutes that we'd allocated in those rooms. So, I mean, if you do feel you need to go back and continue discussions, then we've still got time to do so. But I'd like to just get a little bit of an overview from each group, really, just to find out what sort of comments, discussions came out of your groups. And if you've thought about how you may go about implementing some of those initiatives now in preparation for Christmas and winter, who you could partner with, how you would fund those, and how maybe you could take those initiatives beyond just the winter and Christmas that's coming. So I don't know who wants to start. Emma, do you want to share some feedback from your group? Is that okay?
Yeah, I don't know whether we quite got as far as that, Ange, but we did have like a really important discussion around sort of, I suppose, the very first place to start, which is engagement really with communities. Claire from Llanon was in our group, and she talked at length about the survey that they had done with their communities, and how Claire said what a game changer that was for the initiatives that they have provided. And then she was good enough to take some questions around that in terms of, you know, the sorts of things that were asked, and then how to ensure good participation in those surveys, because that's quite often tricky. And really helpfully, Claire has offered to share with us the survey and some information around that, so that we can in turn share that with other councils. So that's a really brilliant offer, even offering to send the Canva link that she created in. So if people just want to change the contact details, it was, you know, makes it really easy. So that's a really great offer, which we will definitely take you up on, Claire. But we discussed that at length really in terms of engagement, and then we talked a little around volunteers and how that can be tricky, finding volunteers or engaging with people. And again, we came back to the engagement survey and including that as part of those questions, asking people if they'd be willing to volunteer. So we talked about that at length. We talked amongst ourselves about some of the initiatives. We talked about challenges in terms of size of council, you know, and want to reiterate, as I did in the group, that we do appreciate that councils are vastly differently resourced. You know, Clare's councils Care Council has a precept on it and resources, dedicated staff, and then we have other very small councils who you know, maybe only have a clerk for a couple of hours. And I think there's a challenge for us as an organisation who are providing resources to maybe do a little more around bringing councils of a similar size together to support one another, and maybe targeting some of these sessions at sizes of councils. So that was really useful feedback. And we also talked about the fact that provision of these initiatives doesn't necessarily have to come directly from councils, but you know, it can be councils empowering other groups or financially supporting other groups, and that has just as much value as delivering the initiatives themselves. You know, we had a gentleman from Barry who said that they do a lot of that, and I know I live in Abergavenny, and my council do less of the delivering of initiatives themselves, but more of, you know, giving grants or volunteering at events. So we didn't really get to the specifics, but we had an important conversation about some of the barriers, which I think was really helpful. So, and everyone made really great and important contributions. So yeah, that's where we were really.
Fantastic, Emma. That's really good, and hopefully everyone in that group found the discussion really useful as well. So Vanessa, if I can move across to your group, so would you like to just feedback what came out for your group, please?
I think we might have been having identical conversations in our group, to be honest. I think we identified engagement. I think that was the biggest share back, is that sort of difficulty in getting that word out, that the council is offering services, but it's finding those new ways of engaging with the people that are not maybe need it, but are not actually engaging with it, and how we can actually identify that need. And yeah, it relates to finding different ways. I know Helen from Pontypridd was saying, maybe I just need to be out on the street, you know, at the bus stop, and I need to be, you know, in the local Iceland, and that's where we'll maybe find these people, rather than waiting for them to come to you in an event, or because they're disengaged from that already. One of the ideas that did come out, which everybody liked, was this idea of potentially getting like a minibus or a van that could go round the villages, that people could just come out onto their doorsteps to actually access services like food and support, and sort of take it to them rather than them having to come to you for it. And I think everybody was in agreement that it's, you know, that we can inform people, but it's making sure that we're informing them in the right way. And that, yes, we can, you know, we can use our websites, we can put up posters and notices and things like that. But it's how do we share it? And I think Pam was sort of saying about using your local school as well, because the schools don't just engage with the younger families, but they've also got the grandparents, they've got access to all of those people. So like partnering with your schools can be an easy way of sharing information, and they've got all their own internal communications which are sort of safe and set up and established. Yeah, and things like use of newsletters, and yeah, but we didn't actually sort of, like you say, we didn't really have time to get down to the nitty-gritties of saying, yeah, we're going to go away and do this. I think engagement is the key to any of this work, really.
Okay. That's great. Thanks, Vanessa. So has anyone after today's discussion come away thinking, yes, I can implement that, and this is who I can speak to in my community, or this is maybe how I can resource that, or how I can get people on board to assist with that? So can anyone share anything that they found of benefit from today's discussion, and how they are looking now to go back to their council to try to put that in place for this winter? Is anyone out there?
I think Hillary's got some.
Find my hand. I'm used to using Teams, sorry.
Oh, that's fine, Hilary. Yes.
If I put my hand up. Yes, so I thought it was really useful, thank you. We're quite a small community council, we're quite disparate, so listening to Clare talking about and really understanding what people need, that would be really helpful. So that would be great, because that's one of the things that we need to do. And I guess that, you know, we really are all about engagement and trying to reach those who aren't speaking out for themselves. But certainly, just as a really quick one, the leaflet suggestion that you made about, you know, where to get help, where to get resources, things like that, that's something that we can do, and we can do that with our next newsletter, which will be the end of October, really. And I think that's a really quick thing that we can do to make a difference for people. You know, Pam was talking in our group about the website as well. Our website is dreadful, it's all being revamped at the moment, but again, that's something else that we can do, is to try and make it more accessible. But as we deliver the newsletter to every home, then at least every home will find out about what's in the area and what we can do. And also thinking about, maybe can we give some smaller grants to try and help people who want to run projects. We can't source. It would be really lovely. I would really love to see us do, you know, like a soup lunch or something like that. But we don't even have the space to have a warm hub. I work from home. We've got a village hall, but it's not very well located for the people that are really in need. But those ideas about, you know, could we engage with somebody in the community to get them to do it, and perhaps we could financially help. That's something that maybe we would be able to do. going forward. So there's a few things, but it would be a start for us. So that would be great.
Brilliant, Hilary. Thank you for sharing that. So can I just ask Hilary, just out of interest, so you say the leaflet goes to every household within your area. How is that? Is that posted? Is that through Royal Mail or is that volunteers? How do you do that?
Well, our councillors do it, our community councillors do it. They're really, really dedicated. We have about 15 homes that I post them to, simply because, you know, walking to them geographically, they're just a bit, they're too far. So we do post to those houses, but everybody else gets one, and they've all divided up the streets between themselves, and they do it. And, you know, it says a lot for them, because my community, I mean, I think I'm really lucky. My community councillors are excellent, and they do an awful lot of the work that needs done, you know, keeping parks, keeping maintenance and things like that. Because we're small, we can't afford to employ someone on a regular basis, and they do a lot of that work themselves, you know. And the newsletters they feel quite strong about. We try and do either 3 or 4 a year, but we're just moving to having it translated. So for costs, we're going to reduce it to 3 newsletters, because obviously cost of translation's got to be factored in. But yeah, we should have 9 councillors, but unfortunately one resigned because he was travelling with work and just couldn't make it work with his children and stuff. But our 8 councillors do it all. So yeah, we make sure they all get it.
That's absolutely amazing, Hilary. Gosh, well done to them. And I think this is what we see as being the biggest challenge for councils, is having the resources to be able to deliver on something like that. It is so important to reach out to those who aren't on social media, who maybe can't get to the bus stop and see a notice board to say that there's this event happening or this. So it's really, really important that we think of ways and find ways of reaching out to those people. So yeah, well done, Helen. That's just amazing. So Hilary, sorry. Emma, you have your hand raised there.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, well, really, is you know, it's important for you to tell us what we can do as well. You know, what would be helpful for us to do for you? Would it be for you to bring you together in sort of size of councils groups? Is there any specific resources that we could put together for you? You know, we've always wanted our project, our service to reflect your needs. We again don't want to assume that we know what you need. So if you do have anything that you can feed back to us in terms of that, then we'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. That's brilliant. So was there anyone else who just wanted to share any takeaways from today, anything that they feel they could take back to their council for discussion and maybe start working towards for this winter? Is there anyone else who just wants to share any takeaways? No? Sheila, I'm going to come to you because I know that your council does an awful lot, and you're not often the one who shouts loudest about it. So I'm sure there's something today that you've heard that you're thinking, yes, I'm going to put that in place in Van Community Council. So Sheila, you're on mute. You're on mute, Sheila? You're still on mute. Let's see if I can unmute you.
I'm sorry, I'm having problems with the...
There you go. We can hear you now, Sheila. Brilliant.
Sorry, I'm having a few problems with the screen this morning. I don't know why. I'm something that I haven't done right, I think. Here, let's have a look. No, there we go. Yeah, I think to me the survey was really important. That's something I'm definitely taking back. Yeah. And the giving of grants, I thought that was important as well. I was saying earlier that we're getting some participatory budgeting funding out to they've gone through all the procedures, and the decisions are being made on who are the bids that have come in and who will benefit from that. But that's also enabled us to see what other things came in that there won't be enough money to give to those. So maybe we can, we can give to those. That's something useful to be knowing now as well. Yeah, and I really liked the distributing of the winter support leaflet. I thought that was really important. And I think we should do a newsletter now coming up to Christmas. We are planning a Christmas event, and I've actually brought the MP down to see what goes on in the centre. One of our community councillors runs a centre, and we've done various things in the centre, and including that warm hub is being run every week by them. We don't need to fund that because funds they managed to get funds in from classes and things, so that's all okay. And but that place then is an ideal opportunity to bring other people in to provide courses, not courses, rather talks or things to the people who come to the warm hub, etc. So anyway, I brought the MP down to have a look at it to see what good work was going on there, and I will be asking him if he's got any money so we can do something at Christmas.
Great.
You've got to ask, because I always think you ask, and otherwise you'll never know, will you? So
And I know your council is particularly good at engaging with your community, but just out of interest, Sheila, again, you're very rural where you are. How do you reach those residents who maybe can't come out to your events, to your warm hubs? Do you have anything in place with your particular council, or is there anything that you've taken today that you think you could start to think about?
No, we're not rural actually. We're just right on the edge of,
Okay.
It's only about half a mile to walk into the town. Really, there are a few areas that are a little bit more outlying, but we have got people coming to our warm hubs from there. But we need to do more of that, getting out to those people that are a bit further away.
Okay. And are there any ideas from today that you think you could maybe implement, Sheila, to reach
To
them?
me, it's all about door knocking and building a team from the community councillors that will come out on a regular basis. I think is that really.
Yeah. And I think that's something else. Thanks, Sheila. I think that's something else we need to think about as well. We often pull on the same people to offer the support and help, and it's a big ask to be asking the same people over and over again. So again, it's about thinking about how we can cast that net a little bit wider, so we're not just relying on our community councillors to step in and to assist. Who else is there within that community who can assist with those tasks? Are there any agencies that you can buddy up with who are already doing a bit of door knocking, leaflet dropping? Is there any way that we can include your newsletter or leaflets with their information as well? So again, it's worth thinking about who else is distributing information, and maybe how you can sort of piggyback onto them rather than having to do all that hard work yourself. Okay.
I seen a program that was running in England somewhere, and they were called Community Connectors. So they were volunteers, but they were used as community connectors. So they may not be delivering anything, but they were connecting with their local community. So you run some training with them, explained what was going on, and then they were utilized to spread the word within their community. So it sounded like a really good kind of system and a way of doing things. So they just spoke to people. I'm the community connector. I'm gonna, whenever if they were in a bus stop or they had a chance to have a chat, their role was to connect activities and organisations with the local community, which sounded like a good. I was doing research on something, and I liked the sound of that. But I think from today it's a bit of a let's think outside of the box of different ways of doing things, and yeah. I've got lots of little ideas from today, so thank you.
Brilliant. The Community Connector, they actually run quite well in the Wrexham area. They have quite a few community connectors running in that area. We were intending to have one of their community connectors attend today from Coed Poeth, but unfortunately couldn't attend today. And again, their a link really between the residents and the council. And as you say, they go out in the community and they're the first point of contact for lots of people who need that extra help, that assistance, who may not be able to contact the council directly. So they have a really valuable resource. So if you do want more information on that, Helen, then that's obviously something we can forward to you, some information about the connectors that are operating in the Wrexham area, or it may be worth you doing a little bit of research around what's being offered there as well. And it does run really well. I think there's other areas across Wales as well. I think Swansea's quite active. Am I right in thinking?
Yeah, some areas have
Call them different things.
community connectors. They're slightly different to the England model, though. They're actually funded roles, aren't they? And they sort of provide a bridge between sort of students and social services and that kind of thing, public service boards. So I think what you're referring to feels
I'd like a voluntary community
Yeah.
connector without
or
paying
like
them
build,
ideally.
the sort of tourism ambassadors, a bit like that, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a good idea though, isn't it? You know,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
yeah.
So we'd have to put some thought as to how we can get that maybe up and running on a voluntary basis rather than paid. So we'll give that some thought. But obviously that's something for your councils to have a think about as well, how you could possibly set up such a network for your community as well.
And my bus. And my community bus.
And the bus. Yes.
I'm not going to be asking for much.
I did jump into Helen's breakout group earlier, and she was talking about a bus that went to rural areas, and I mentioned that the community council that I'm part of, although it's not funded by the community council, they have offered grants towards, and Ridderville and Llandullas actually have a community bus that goes to the rural areas. It visits each area a couple of times a week, and you can literally go along. You can buy one onion, you can buy one egg, you can buy just the small amounts of foods that some people only ever need. You know, they don't need to go out and do a big shop. It might just be they need the daily supplies for that day or for a couple of days. So I did say to Helen I would share the contact details, but we will be sending some resources out later on today, so we can include that in the information pack as well. And if you want to find out a little bit more about how they got the funding and how they got that up and running, then certainly have a look at that as well. Yeah, we'll get you that bus, Helen. Okay, anything from anyone else at all before we conclude today's webinar? Anyone got anything else to add? No? Okay. So, I'm really pleased to hear that some really lively discussions have taken place today, and it sounds like you've all taken on board something that hopefully you can take back to your councils and start a discussion, or indeed start to implement now as we move into our colder winter months. We can feel it already, can't we? As soon as this rain started, the temperatures have suddenly dropped and we're all thinking about what we can do. Sorry, Claire, did you want to jump in there? You're on mute, Claire?
No, sorry. I was just, a notification came on my phone, so I was clearing it. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Thanks, Claire. Okay. So hopefully there's been some good takeaways for everyone from today's session. So following today's session, as I mentioned, you will all get a copy of the Festive Sport Toolkit with the quick ideas that you can take back to the council, and hopefully some of those are ready for implementation. Obviously start looking at your newsletters, what you can include in that newsletter, who those essential links are, and how, of course, you can distribute that information out to the wider community as well. So if you do have any questions following today's session, then please do get in touch with the team. I think the contact details are in the chat. I think Vanessa's just popping everything in the chat now. So do contact us and we'll endeavour to come back to you with any help that we can, or if you just want to connect with someone maybe of a similar size council as been mentioned today, just someone who's doing something that might be of interest to you that we can share a case study for, etc., then again do reach out. There will be a feedback form pop up at the end of today's event. You might miss it, so do look out for it as you close the screen today. And it's just 4 or 5 questions, just getting a little bit of feedback from your thoughts on today's session and what you feel you can take away from today's session and implement within your councils, and how you felt the session went today in general, just so that we can look at improving things where we can as well. So if you could find a minute to do so, we would very much appreciate that too. We do have our cost of living Facebook forum as well, which Vanessa's constantly updating with lots of resources, informations, toolkits, etc. And lots of funding news goes on there as well. So as soon as we get any information, we like to share that. So if you haven't joined, then please do. Again, the link is in the chat. And yeah, pop on there every couple of days if you could get a chance, because there's always new updates that you would, I'm sure, find useful. Okay. And I think that's everything from me, unless anything to add from either Vanessa or Emma. Is that everything? No? Okay, so once again, thank you very, very much for taking the time to join us. I hope you found it useful. I'm sure we'll be hearing of some great initiatives that are taking place within your councils now over the coming months. Really excited to hear about those, and do reach out if you need any information, and we'd love to see you at our next event in October. Okay, take care everyone, have a great weekend and see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. While Claire's just rejoining the meeting, what I